Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We gonna light it up now. Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We gonna light it up now.
Good evening, everybody. How are we doing tonight? Welcome over to this channel if you were with me over earlier on the other channel. But welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. How's everybody doing tonight? It is Saturday, the 5th of April. My dad's birthday would have been tomorrow. I just realized that today, a little bit ago. I forgot to do the math, so I'm not sure how old he would have been, but probably in his 60s. 70, maybe now 70. Oh, that would have been weird seeing my dad at 70. But welcome to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Tanya or TitaniumBuilt. It's nice to meet you. Nice to see you. I don't prefer one over the other. You can call me either name. I don't prefer one, like I said, over the other one. But thanks for being here tonight. We'll go through the list of people that are in the chat, and then we'll kind of go from there and see what we're up against. How you doing tonight, Ladybug? Oh, you're watching The Nest. Second Inglet. I might like that. I might like watching that, but I might get addicted to that because I've been watching my bird outside. I have my own little bird. She's doing so good. She has 2 little baby birds up there. I just hope that they can stay up there and they don't fall or anything because it's rounded. Because she's on like a blind. I just feel like bad for him, but I can't touch him. Hey, Mary Beth. Hey, just breathe. Blood transfusion and you're being admitted. Oh, I'm sorry, Mary Beth. But at least you know they know what it is. That's crazy. I'm sorry that's happening to you. I hate being in the hospital. Actually, I have like a love-hate relationship with the hospital. It just depends on where I'm at, I guess. If, like I told Vincent, if I needed to do like physical therapy, just send me back. Just send me back to the hospital. I do better in the hospital with physical therapy. I won't do it outside. I just won't. Hey, Catherine. Hey, Lisa. Now I will stretch. Hey, James. Who said that? Yeah. Hey, Petunia. Fancy meeting you here too. I heard something else earlier that I was like, where did you hear that? So, yeah, sometimes the comments get bumped. Yeah. If you come in like earlier than then like a certain time, I don't know why it does that. Your hemoglobin is 6. Oh, I don't know anything about the normal rates of that either, actually. Hey, Michael. Welcome in. Hey, Triple L. Hey, Mandy. Well, make sure you're taking good care of yourself and make sure that they're taking good care of you there because that's what they're there to do, you know? That's what they're there to do. Hey, Michelle. Hey, Sailor. Hey, Jenny. Hey, Bobby. Welcome in, everybody. It's good to see you guys. CJK. It's good to see ya. Hey, Mary. There's Otto. I was just thinking of you. That's so weird. I was just going to say, if you guys have missed Otto, Otto leaves comments all the time. I was just about, that's weird. That's weird, Otto. Hey, Trips True Talk. I don't even know if you go by Trips, but that's how I say it. Just because there's no I there, but I just kind of put all those together. Hope you don't mind. I guess I could do TTT, but then no, because TikTok Tony. I feel like I would be addicted to that. That would be something that I could get down with. You know, watching some birds. We were talking about that on the other channel. I don't know what it is about birds, but I love birds now. We have 2 red birds here, like 2 cardinals. And Vincent and I, like, we say one's his dad and one's my dad because one is skinnier and feistier. Like, he's always doing something weird, like just kind of bouncing from tree to tree, like branch, you know, just kind of just living life like that, like bouncing around. And then the other one is kind of chunkier. And I guess Vincent's dad was like had a little belly on him. So that one is Vincent's dad. Not like chunky, but, you know, just more built. My dad was very skinny. Playing Call of Duty. Oh, wow. I've never played Call of Duty. My friends would never let me play. Now, they would let me play, what was the other game? I can't remember. The street racing game. GTA. I could play that. They let me play that. They let me drive the cars. Hey, Naomi. Hey, Margot. But that's about it. Hey, Brian. Hey, Melody Faith. Welcome in. And if I miss anybody, I'm sorry. Hey, Stephanie. Hey, Proud Mimi. Otto's here in the chat. I see them. No, so I see your comments. If I don't get to love them or like them, it's not because I don't love them or like them. It's because I can't see them because my comment section has been pro Burger Central lately, which is, you know, a difference of an opinion is fine. But I was like tiptoeing in my own comment section. I was like, oh my gosh. So I haven't, yes, we did. We saw Aries on the second channel. He came over for like a second because I was getting ready to get off of the live and he popped in. And then he said, I think he said he was done with the internet for the day, but I don't know. Maybe it was just for that live. Hey, Kathy, welcome in. I'm sure Aries will poke his little head in here. Need for Speed. Ooh, I played Need for Speed. My dad had that. PlayStation 1. Yeah, PlayStation 1, I think. I want to say. Man, I feel old. I'm like, that just brings you back. But I still have my Nintendo. Thanks to Doodlebug, I can now play one of my old games that was one of my favorites. There are CJK. I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky. I do have you guys are a good group of people. You really are. You don't give me any crap. You don't like, you know, not too much crap. I mean, here and there, you know, you got to, but you know, you guys are really, you guys care about each other too. That's what's nice. I like seeing that in the chat. And you guys are always welcoming, you know, shoot. I love that. See, look at Kathy, hit that like button. I love that. Look at that. Hit that like button for your girl. Oh, you mean when you were typing? I thought you meant like your comment got bumped, because sometimes it'll bump comments out of like so if you ever come in like before the live and you comment like say like hours before the live, I never really am good at planning my lives. Like you know when to be here. You know I'll be here 9:15, but the thumbnail sometimes goes up at 8 o'clock. um, but if you ever come in and do like a comment, sometimes it'll delete your comment before I even see it. So look at that. Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for being you, Proud Mimi. Remember for 6 months, your arm changed to rainbow, and we're working on 2-year arms and we need to do like a year and a half maybe. But yeah, we got 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. And now y'all are going into 2 years. I'm like, shoot, you're passing me up on the app. I know 6 months. That's awesome. Thank you for being a member so long. She's okay. She's in the chat right now. She might be in the chat, but she has to get a blood transfusion. Oh man, that breaks my heart for her. I couldn't imagine doing that. I don't think I had to do any of that. They just gave me blood. Okay. So there were a couple documents that were left in the Pennsylvania document, like search whenever we were going through the search warrants the other night. So I thought that we would just go through them in the beginning of the live, because I have a couple of videos I'm going to play tonight off of Fox Nation. There's like 4 videos with, I can't think of his name. He was the guy on the OJ Simpson case. Mark Furman, him. It's like a roundtable discussion. He has 4 videos on there, and I know that we watched 2 of them like months and months and months ago. It's been, I don't know, probably 6 months ago, but I can't remember which 2. So I think it's 5 actually, 5 videos. So we're just going to play them like in chronological order. So we'll play 2 tonight, and then we'll play the other 3 on another live. But also before we get started, very quickly, you guys know how near and dear Madalena Kojikari's case is to me. And I've been on Twitter. I haven't recently. It's probably been a month or a couple months, but I would get on, and I told you guys to do it too, like get on to Nancy or hashtag Nancy Grace and try to get her to cover Madalena Kojikari's story, because she has a bigger reach than like a lot of people, and her story wasn't getting out there. Would you guys believe that she covered it yesterday and I didn't even know it? So we'll be covering that tomorrow. I'm pretty excited to hear what she has to say about everything, because there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot in that case. So don't miss that live tomorrow. It's going to be really, really, really good live. I'm even busting out the old Nancy cardboard cutout, because she made me proud this time. She made me proud with this one. So hopefully, I mean, she has a reach. I don't know, her mom's in another country and all that stuff, but she does have a bigger reach. So so tonight we're going to basically continue our review of Idaho 4. We're getting ready for trial. Trial is August the 11th of this year. As of right now, they better not change it. I don't think they're going to change it. Judge Stephen Hippler seems pretty dead set on having everything kind of run smoothly and start a jury selection at the end of July. So he's ready. But this is going to be the criminal complaint, and then there's an order returning defendant to Idaho, and these are only like a few pages long. We'll just skim through them, and then we'll get on with the videos, and then we'll talk through those a little bit. So this is just from the Pennsylvania's search. I guess these are photocopied on here, and that's why it looks so dang just crappy, because they're not the originals. But this is what they put under the Pennsylvania website. So Pennsylvania needs to get their stuff together. It just says, his address, Lambsden, Chestnut Hill Township. It's so weird. My mom used to talk about that Chestnut Hill Township before. So it just says his name here, Bryan Christopher Kohberger, 12/30/2022. That was the date it was filed. Has the complaint number, the incident number, and then it says offense 1. And it says, in that, on or about said date, the defendant having been charged with the commission of any crime from another state, or having been convicted of a crime in another state, and having escaped from confinement, or having broken the terms of his or her bail, probation, or parole, and having been declared a fugitive of justice from that state, the defendant has been located within or believed to be within the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. They could have worded that a little differently. I mean, he really didn't escape. I mean, he wasn't charged with anything for, you know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. The way they kind of like wrote that out was kind of bad. I will say that. And it says, too, I ask that a warrant of arrest or a summons be issued and that the defendant be required to answer the charges I have made. I verify that the facts set forth in this complaint are true and correct to the best of my knowledge or information and belief. This verification is made subject to the penalties of Section 4904 of the Crimes Code relating to unsworn falsification to authorities. Number 4, the complainant consists of the preceding pages number 1 through 3. I certify that this filing complies with the provisions of the case records public access policy of the United Judicial System of Pennsylvania that require filing confidential information and documents differently than non-confidential information and documents. This is a hard document to read, I'll tell you that. Even if I had 2 eyes, I think it would be hard. The acts committed by the accused as listed in hereafter were against the peace and dignity of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and were contrary to the acts of the Assembly or in violation of the statute cited. He really didn't do. I'm kind of confused on these because he really didn't commit any crimes that we know of in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Like, you know, he wasn't charged with anything yet at this point. So wording is not very good. So here's the affidavit of probable cause. This is this is their PCA kind of in Pennsylvania. So the affiant is Trooper Justin M. Lear of the Pennsylvania State Police. Trooper since 2009. I have served as a detective with the Lackawanna County District Attorney's Office, a special agent with the Pennsylvania Office of Attorney General, a task force officer with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and currently as a trooper with the Pennsylvania State Police Troop and Vice Unit. Throughout my career, I have conducted hundreds of criminal investigations, including numerous homicide investigations. And then the next one is your affiant is Trooper Bryan Knoll of the Pennsylvania State Police, Trooper Criminal Investigation Assignment Officer. I have been employed with the Pennsylvania State Police since 2008 and assigned as a criminal investigator since 2012. I have been assigned as the Criminal Investigation Assessment Officer since 2019. Throughout my career, I have conducted hundreds of criminal investigations, including numerous homicide investigations. So just a little background on all the cops that arrested him. On Thursday, or, a couple of the cops, but I'm assuming these 2 are the ones that put the cuffs on him. On Thursday, December 30th, 2022, the Pennsylvania State Police were assisting the Moscow Police Department, Moscow, Idaho, Idaho State Police, and Federal Bureau of Investigation with a criminal homicide investigation. On the same date, Bryan C. Kohberger was taken into custody in Chestnut Hill Township, Monroe County, Pennsylvania, based upon an active arrest warrant for murder in the first degree issued through the Moscow Police Department and Latah County Prosecutor's Office. The arrest warrant was confirmed through NCIC with NIC NIC number, and it gives the number. And just says duly sworn, whatever they say is true and correct to the best of their knowledge. And then this is for the magistrate district judge. This is when it goes to it's Commonwealth against Bryan Kohberger. And the magistrate judge for that was Michael Muth. I'm not sure if that's how you say it. Just as awaiting preliminary arraignment. And that would have been at 9 a.m. His bail hearing arraignment. And I think that's really all. There's another page. Bail hearing scheduled. And then the extradition case filed. And he didn't fight it. He came back, to Idaho, which was good because, why fight it? You're only going to spend a couple more days in that jail and then have to come back to Idaho anyway. Just be smarter. And then now he's just kind of stood silent. He saw their dish. Hey, PJ, second chance. Missed everybody coming in. Oh, look at that, Auto. Thank you. Hit the like and subscribe and share. All of them. All the buttons. I don't know my Southernish. I feel you there. If this rain don't stop, I'm gonna die over here. I'm just like to the point where like I'm over the rain, you know. It's been like 4 days and I'm not good with rain. My bones aren't good with rain. The metal is not good with rain. But this is his extradition order. So this was on the 3rd day of January, 2023, after hearing in Bryan Kohberger's voluntary waiver of his rights pertaining to extradition. It is hereby ordered that the defendant, Bryan Kohberger, in the custody of the sheriff of Monroe County, Pennsylvania, be by him surrendered to the Latah County District Attorney's Office, State of Idaho, or its authorized representatives within 10 calendar days of this date. It is further ordered that the defendant, having signed in our presence a writing which states that he consists to return to the demanding state of Idaho, said writing shall be forwarded by the clerk of courts to the office of the governor of this Commonwealth. The sheriff of Monroe, Pennsylvania, is ordered to deliver a copy of the defendant's signed written consent to the duly accredited agents of the demanding state of Idaho. Just says, Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, January 3rd. That's the waiver of extradition. January 3rd, 2023, I hereby certify that I, Bryan Christopher Kohberger, of my own free will, do voluntarily agree to return to the state of Idaho as a prisoner from the county of Monroe, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and for the purpose of answering the charges. Furthermore, I hereby waive all formality, and I am willing to return to the state of Idaho without governor's requisition or other papers necessary in such cases, and do exonerate the county of Monroe from any blame, compulsion, or interference in this connection. Don't come back and be blaming us now. You know what I'm saying? And get your ass out of here. That's what they're saying. Bryan Kohberger's signature, he just has the worst signature. His looks like mine when I do it on one of those like keypads at the doctor's office. Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, January 3rd, 2023. I certify that the above was read to me and signed by me, and the agreement has been without compulsion, threat, or force on the part of all authorities here and upon the free desire of Bryan Kohberger. So make sure they put that down, you know. Now I might have to go back in time and find the video of Kohberger doing his little extradition, you know, the little plane ride, because that was a pretty exciting live. And I think that would be I've never reviewed one of my own lives before ever. And like I don't know, it's kind of weird. But I might do that one. If I can't find the aerial footage online, which I think I can, then we'll play the old one. But I think it would be fun to watch that again, because they put that bucket on his head, like that helmet and everything. Like they were not messing around with him. Oh, they were making sure they got him back like in one piece for real. So the first video I'm going to play for you guys, these are like two specials from Fox Nation. So they're kind of short. They're like 24 minutes a piece, and then we'll talk through them as well. But the first one is, no, we haven't. Okay. I'm like, did we watch this? No. It's just about the DNA and how, you know, they use genetic genealogy to kind of zero in on Bryan Kohberger as their prime suspect in this case. Let me share the tab with you first. Okay. And then I'll play it. And then we'll play the next one after this. These ones were done on 10/2/2023. And then the next one I'm going to play is from January 11th. 2023. So wait, maybe I should switch these. Maybe we should switch them. Yeah, let's do that. I meant to switch those actually. So we'll watch this one first, since this one technically went first. I'm trying to put them in like at least of a little bit order for you guys. And then on our next live, we'll watch the other ones, and they were all filmed on the same day. So, and they were filmed a little bit later in 2024. So it's always good. I feel like to go back and listen to these, because I always feel like we hear new details that we either forgot or we didn't know. So it's always good to go back and revisit. And I also want to revisit when Nancy Grace put up her table in front of the Idaho 4 house. Like those were pretty entertaining episodes. So I'm going to try to find that one for us too to play, because I think it's on Fox Nation.
He's just an ordinary man who bleeds.
Okay.
the horrific murders of the University of Idaho students.
Each had been stabbed multiple times. These tragic murders took 4 young, vibrant lives from our community.
It's not even a question that this was a target location.
There's a sexual component to a lot of these crimes, even when there's no sex involved.
Kohberger was arrested without incident and charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder.
When you find the suspect's DNA at the crime scene, it's kind of like finding a lottery ticket.
How much better does it get? I mean, the only thing better would have been a note.
The big question will be, where did he intersect? How did these victims come into his orbit?
What is not clear tonight is a motive.
Currently, the case that's gripped the nation is the murder of 4 University of Idaho students. They were stabbed to death on November 13th, 2022. Right now, I'm seated with 3 experts that are going to help me and you understand just exactly what this affidavit actually means and what we can actually look forward to in the future for evidence and solution and prosecution of this crime. Bill, you're a forensics expert. You worked for the Bureau in the beginning of your career. Steve, you worked for the Bureau and you actually started the genealogy program at the FBI.
That's right.
Wow.
Maureen, you worked for the Bureau in
He's like #1 guy. Okay. Wow. Genealogy started the genealogy program at the FBI.
a lot of capacities. And of course, I'm the only non-federal guy here.
We won't
But
beat you up too badly.
We won't beat me up. Okay, good. You remember at the beginning, they said the time of death was between 3 and 4 in the morning. Well, they knew that was untrue from the first moment they set foot on the crime scene. So why did they project that?
Strategically, I think they wanted to keep a lot of the information that they knew to be factual out of the public domain, so that if anyone came in to confess, they'd have to have the actual information.
Would everybody agree with that?
Yeah, I would. Early on, they knew a lot more than we were led to believe. It may be hard for people to swallow in the public and for the victims' families. I think at the end, it was well-intentioned and well carried out.
Wouldn't you guys say that it's the culture of the FBI to keep everything close to the vest?
Yeah, I think that's true. I think it's also important to remember that the purpose of the affidavit is solely to establish probable cause. Certainly this 18 pages doesn't represent all of the 47 days worth of work that was done.
Right. So let's start at the end.
I like that because a lot of people think that everything that's in the probable cause is all they have. So right there, they're telling you, no, that's just what they have from those like couple, just what they need to put in there to get an arrest, basically. And then they've been still doing a lot of testing. To this day, they're still doing testing. I don't know
Of
what.
the affidavit, because I think this is what people need to understand before we even get to the particulars and the movements of the suspect. So there was DNA. The suspect leaves a knife sheath to a Marine Corps K-bar by Maddie, by her right side.
This is as close to a smoking gun as you can get, right? And it's at the crime scene. It's next to the victim.
We've got the one thing that we absolutely know belongs to the suspect. Why don't we start with the timeline? We know in the affidavit that the murders occurred between 4:04 a.m. and 4:20 a.m. We've got to give them a minute to get out of the car and get in the house. We've got to give them at least a minute to get out of the house and get in the car. So that's 14 minutes inside.
Right.
Xana is getting a food delivery at 4 a.m. And that's pretty solid in the affidavit. So what does everybody feel like he's doing, and where did he come in?
I believe he came in on the second floor through the sliding glass door and made his way through the hall.
Steve?
Yeah, I would say the same. I mean, just because the front door is so exposed.
He probably had a good
That back door is so lit up like a Christmas tree. I think he came through the front, but I'm the only one. I think Tony's with me. I don't know if she's in the chat, but Tony's with me on that one.
line of sight, knowing they could come in on that second floor, make his way in, and very quickly go to where he wanted to go. So he knew this stuff ahead of time.
At
See if I can find
4:12,
pictures of the back.
Xana is on TikTok, but they don't say she's using it. Her phone is on TikTok. In other words, she could be asleep or she could be using it. So at 4:17, there's a security camera that's exactly 50 feet away from Xana's bedroom. And that picks up a sound that sounds like a whimper, a loud thud, and a dog barking.
It's important to note that 50 feet away from hearing something inside the house and hearing a whimper or any sound is significant because that's pretty loud.
It is.
It is pretty loud. To carry that far and to go through the walls and be picked up 50 feet away on a doorbell camera or whatever the unit was.
If you consider, to your point, Bill, a whimper from 50 feet, what does that sound like in the house?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's
It's
a
like-
moan,
like,
a muffled scream.
It would almost have to be something like that.
Yeah. So my question is, what's the thud? Maddie and Kaylee are both found in bed, deceased. So they didn't fall. There is information from Xana's family that Xana was on the floor. So is the thud Xana hitting the floor?
I think it is.
Okay, so that would mean he went upstairs first.
Yeah. The fact that the sheath is found in the third floor bedroom where Kaylee and Maddie are, to me, that says that's where he started.
When you lose your sheath on the third floor, is it because you're in a hurry? Is it because it was stuffed in your waistband or in the pockets of a hoodie and it came out, and by the time you realized it, you're already going down the road? Why?
I think that dummy sat it down. I think he took the knife out of it and sat it down. And then didn't expect there to be two people in that bed or two people to be coming like into that room, whether Kaylee was in there to begin with or not. I don't think he expected there to be two people in there. I think he expected there to be one person, Maddie, and that was it.
Even bring the sheath
or
in.
because he got into a bigger fight than he was planning on.
If Kaylee and Maddie are first, the knife is not sheathed. So he's dripping at least one or two drops off that blade as he's coming downstairs. Certainly the task force will watch this and pick apart what we're saying, but we're working with a limited amount of information and a whole bunch of common sense and some experience. But they certainly know who was first, second, third, and fourth.
Some of the details in this 19-page arrest affidavit are chilling, to say the least, including the fact that Bryan Kohberger may have been stalking his victims and how one of the roommates came face-to-face with the alleged killer moments after the murders. It was 4 a.m. when a surviving roommate heard one of the victims say something to the effect of, "There's someone here," and a male voice saying, "It's okay, I'm going to help you."
Why do we even know this? We have a witness. So let's talk about DM for a minute. She thinks she hears Kaylee say, "There's someone here." Male voice is what DM heard. And what's the statement? It's okay, I can help you.
I just can't even tell you what it felt like for me to read that line.
Who's he talking to?
Yeah.
He's talking to one of the girls.
We know from Xana's family that she had defensive wounds. So Xana was fighting and Xana was not in the bed. That is information where that's possibly where we might hear a dialogue before.
But don't you guys think it's reasonable that if DM heard all the stuff that she heard, that Xana could have heard it too and then woke up her boyfriend, Ethan, and that's why he came in contact with them?
I think you're right. Did they hear something? Did she start to come out to the kitchen? Was she retrieving back in?
One of the most alarming pieces of evidence, testimony from another roommate in the house who alleges they saw a tall man wearing all black and a mask on the night of the murders. The man apparently walked right by the roommate as they stood frozen in shock.
She's opening the door and she sees the suspect. She describes a mask over his nose and his mouth, and she describes him as about 5'10" or taller, and he's got bushy eyebrows, but she doesn't describe his hair. So he's got curly black hair, so it would be something that she would probably identify. So he probably had something over his head too. She goes into her room and locks the door. She's probably petrified.
He
The guy's
ain't wrong.
in a mask, in a getup, and she knows that it makes her scared. And then she closes the door and doesn't call anybody.
Could it have been like a COVID mask?
It could have been
And
nose and mouth.
And they always have people in and out of that
Why
house
do they
at
call
all
them COVID
times.
masks?
But why?
I call them medical masks still to this day. I don't think of it as a COVID mask.
Was
But-
she petrified?
Because her gut was telling her to be petrified.
But DM did not see him go out the slider. She said when she shut her door and locked it, he was going towards the slider. So was that his exit and entrance? And I don't want to beat up on her because she could be a scared kid, not knowing what to do.
You would think it would warrant some type of action, something, right?
Right.
Like text your friends.
Anything.
Exactly. So why not call 911?
Yeah.
Or if you don't want to do that, why not call your roommate?
Call 911 certainly would be the most logical, but if not that, do something.
The police don't arrive until she had their friends show up the following morning.
I think that's why the 911 call isn't released. Because I think she was explaining, there was a guy in here with the mask, and I think there's a lot of frantic descriptions and statements going on that they can't release because obviously they didn't tell us we had a witness.
Right. And in my view, the fact that there is a witness goes to the point that the suspect did not come in
They do.
and want to be the mass murderer. If he did, anyone he would have seen, he would have killed. Instead, it was more of a targeted and focused attack based on something we don't know yet.
They're now asking for everyone in a large surrounding area to check surveillance cameras for possible evidence. This as investigators search for clues in and around the brutal crime scene.
The shoe print is right in front of her door. None of the cops are wearing Vans tennis shoes. So they could eliminate that pretty easily. Now, is the shoe print in blood?
The shoe print was not really visible at first.
Right.
I mean, I've worked out some cases where people climbed over bank counters and you don't see a sneaker print until you dust it and then it rises. So the same thing here. It may have been something that went back another sweep. Maybe they caught something and they sprayed it and they saw it as opposed to something they saw it first and kind of put it aside.
By virtue of the fact that they identify it as a latent print instead of a patent one. Patent is you can see it with your eyes,
Right.
and latent means you have to actually develop it. And development of shoe impressions and fingerprints isn't easy. It's an art form.
But
to
it's
work.
still in blood.
It had to be. The most glaring things are that we learned that they had a DNA profile there at the scene that they extracted.
So you have this contact touch DNA on the knife sheet, and they know this is the suspect's. So they trap this golden piece of evidence, and now you know it's got DNA. How long would that take to actually know that you've got a DNA sample there?
The fact that it's single source is a big deal. If you had blood with blood, blood with blood with blood from
And we
3
don't
4
know there isn't.
Correct. There could be other DNA profiles out there. But when you take that first single source profile, you're excited because it's a single person, right? They pull an STR profile, which is a short tandem repeat. As soon as they had that profile, they put it into CODIS, the National DNA Index System, to see, is this suspect already in the database, right? Has he committed correct? Has he committed a previous crime? Because if he had, he would be in the database. The answer was obviously no. And so at that point, you've got single source male DNA, which leads the investigators down the path of forensic genealogy.
How long does it take to get the profile?
The STR profile, only a day or two. You can get it quickly.
Okay, so we're talking less than a week. They know it's not in CODIS.
100%.
And we're going to go to genealogy.
Well, it's important to know too, though, that when you test DNA, you consume DNA. You consume a portion of that when you test it. So you got to be thinking ahead of time. You don't want to say, hey, I test it all and burn it all on the STR, and then I don't have enough left to do the genealogy profile, because it's important to note that the profile that you use for genealogy is not the same as the profile that you use for CODIS. CODIS is called an STR. Genealogy is called an SNP. It stands for single nucleotide polymorphism.
Which is more accurate and with a higher percentage of accuracy, correct?
100%.
Yeah.
It's a genealogy profile.
Okay, so when you have a DNA sample, can you tell the race and sex?
Not from the STR, but you can from the SNP.
These kits that people take, what happens when you check a box saying you allow this to be released? Does that go into some available database to law enforcement?
The two big companies, Ancestry.com and 23andMe, law enforcement doesn't use them. They don't participate. They don't allow their profiles to be searched. So you can just set them aside in a separate box. There are two smaller companies, GEDmatch, and then there's Family Tree DNA. They have separate databases that are very small, versions of what 23andMe and Ancestry.com have. And what makes their databases different is their customers opt in to law enforcement matching. They check a box that says, I want to allow the police to use my DNA to help solve crimes. And those are the two databases that would have been used in this case. So when you upload the suspect's DNA sample into GEDmatch and Family Tree DNA, you get a list of relatives. Okay, these are people that, and when I say relatives, I put it in quote, these aren't Thanksgiving relatives. Okay, these aren't people that you know. These are people that you share small amounts of DNA with. Now, typically, when we put suspect DNA into these databases, we get very low matches. Typically, they're third cousins, fourth cousins. These are people that are so distantly related to you that you don't even know who they are. And you have to build family trees for those folks. You have to connect those trees. And then once you find the most recent common ancestor of all these different people that your suspect's related to, then you build back down.
I think another important point is so many of these things that we're reading in the affidavit, they're all running in concurrent roads in all different directions. And you'll have a team of FBI analysts doing this. You'll have the forensic genealogists doing this. You'll have the street cops doing this. There are so many things happening.
It's strong leadership. How many people was on this task force? 50, 60 total?
Well, there was over 60 FBI agents eventually assigned.
Yeah, and then you've got Idaho State Police, and then you've got basically the whole Moscow Police Department is at disposal.
No one was out there trying to take more glory than anyone else.
It's interesting. A lot of people don't realize this. The FBI can't take over a state case.
That's right.
It's got to be, will you help me? Can you run this? Can you lead this? Can you do whatever?
Now, police are looking to track down this white Hyundai Elantra. These are stock photos or examples, but investigators tell us it's a 2011 to 2013 model. It was spotted right near the home around the time of the murders, and police believe the person or people inside could have vital information about the case. They still have tip lines open here in Moscow, Idaho, and are hoping someone will call and give them the information they need to crack this case.
And that was really kind of an amalgam of all these videos that police were able to put together.
I think the car was a big deal.
They announced it to the public, but they obviously had a lot more detail around it. The FBI's forensic team looked at this. There's probably some enhancement on it, was able to pull out some detail about the vehicle, which then gave the rest of the team things to be looking at.
Yeah, and the one thing is they didn't have a license plate.
No, and the interesting thing about the car, though, when you think about it, is if you put out something, hey, here's the white Elantra, we need to talk to this person, no one came forward.
A big break came November 29th. An officer with the Washington State University Police cross-referenced white Elantras on campus and found one registered to Bryan Kohberger.
Bryan is a PhD candidate in Wazoo, Washington State University, studying criminology. And he's also an adjunct professor. He's teaching some classes there as well, and living near or in proximity to the campus.
He's not some 18-year-old kid that's just leaving home and the parents gave him a car and he's just drinking beer and chasing girls at college, getting, D- grades. This is a guy who's a graduate student.
Digging into the suspect's prior educational research includes this survey from DeSales University, where Kohberger asked people about crimes they committed.
He put out that query to ask all these criminals how they felt and what they did first and what they did. And he said in there that it's anonymous. And I chuckled to myself because I thought any criminal that's stupid enough to reply to this and think it's anonymous is a really bad criminal.
A nationwide manhunt for a killer ends here in the Poconos. Bryan Kohberger, the man police say murdered 4 college students in Idaho last month, is in custody tonight.
Bryan Kohberger was arrested. He owns a white Elantra. He's in custody. Bill, how do you see this? What was the evidence that you see was some of the most important that put him in jail?
There may be many aha moments in this case, but the first one is the identification of this vehicle, but then marrying up some of the cell activity, both of that day, but more so beforehand, is certainly compelling to say that this individual, as a suspect, was in a place that you wouldn't expect him to be at a time he may not be expected to be there.
We're doing a video canvas. So they're getting all these tidbits and they're showing this guy try to find a place to actually turn around, goes down the street, up the street, 3-point turnaround. So he's on surveillance video in his car at 4:04 a.m. He gets back in the car and he's seen speeding down King Road at 4:20.
And we now know that he was there multiple times before. He was there at least 12 times previous. And so understanding the layout of the building, how he may gain entry, probably shortened the time frame that he needed to be in the house to commit these murders. Getting back to the cell towers for a second, there's no cell pinging for a period of time just before and just slightly after the murders. Leads investigators believe that, he turned off the phone, put it in airplane mode.
I think he went off the radar at 2:57 a.m. The phone went off, and I don't think it came back until 5 something in the morning. He made this trip across the country. If this was my case, this guy's not leaving Pullman or Moscow without me in tow, or me actually snagging him, doing a search warrant, because I don't want to lose the ski mask. I don't want to lose the murder weapon, the clothes, the blood in his apartment where he cleaned up, his car. But he takes off.
What was interesting to me about the cross-country trip was the father's involvement. I know what kind of cars my kids drive. Right. You would think the second that it comes up...
Especially since it's our road to the dad.
Exactly. Yeah. The second that it comes up and you say, hey, there's a white Hyundai Elantra that was used in a quadruple homicide that's 10 miles away from where my son goes to school.
Yeah.
And then your son calls you and says, hey, Dad, can you fly out here so we can drive said car?
That car has about 400 miles to a tank of gas. It's about a 2,600 mile trip. So you're talking about 6 tanks of gas. You're talking about spending a night at a hotel. Right. Your dad flying out there to get in the car with you. How much is that going to cost? You drove the car out there for 1 semester, like a few months before, and now you're driving it back for 10 days. It's just too far, and it's ridiculous. It makes no sense. Is not cost effective.
But it is a reason to get out of Dodge.
It was creating distance. It was getting the car from Idaho to Pennsylvania, where he could park it, clean it, leave it, and when things died down, he could sell it. And he couldn't sell it back there. He was going to probably re-register it as soon as he could back in Pennsylvania, just to get it off the books.
I don't think the car was coming back because it is a rolling crime scene. And he gets stopped twice in Indiana. Now, twice in 15 minutes for non-ticketable offenses. Shut up. On a dry, clear day, driving a mom and pop car with an old guy in the right seat, a state trooper's leaning in like it's his best friend. Nobody says to Kohberger, let me see your left hand. He's got his left hand down at his side. Officer safety's out the window. And then he gets stopped 15 minutes later by a sheriff. Does anybody believe this was just coincidence?
No, I believe at least one of them was.
And does anybody believe that Bryan Kohberger is incapable of talking and speaking and holding a conversation with somebody? Because that's what they're saying with him having autism spectrum disorder and stuff. And he had something else too that was listed. So, you seem to be doing okay when you're around police officers. We've seen you on body cam with 2 officers now, and you've been pulled over like 5 times, dude. I don't know how many tickets you got, but I think they let you go too many times.
Was directed by the FBI. There's a number of different reasons. Maybe Kohberger was turning his phone off and on, or who knows what. And they wanted to get obs on who was sitting in the passenger seat. Was it his dad? Get a picture of him, whatever. They compare it to DMV. That's his dad. Then they can get up on his phone.
Yeah, they were within, 12 hours of Pennsylvania by then? So they're getting close.
They're also concerned about a flight risk. So as he knows they're looking for the Elantra, he's changed license plates, he's done all these things, he knows what's going on. And he realizes that they're probably getting close to him. Does he veer off and drive up, to the Canadian border? Does he go to an airport? And so they couldn't take that risk.
Did we not want the car? Do they think the car was used in the crime? It got him there.
Yes.
He got in with blood on him.
Yes.
And we know he had blood on his shoes because he left it right in front of DM's door.
Yes.
So we've got blood in the car, maybe on the steering wheel, maybe on the door handle, maybe on the inside of the door. So we want the car. We don't want it destroyed. We don't want it burned.
I think there's one thing we've learned, Mark, from this affidavit is that they've got good reasons for a lot of the stuff they did. It's well thought out, and there's probably a couple things behind it that we don't know yet.
A local SWAT team took Kohberger into custody at his parents' home in the gated community of Indian Mountain Lake in Chestnut Hill Township about 3 a.m.
So now we're in Pennsylvania, and we know they've alluded to the fact that they were there about 4 days trying to collect the DNA sample.
Yep.
from Kohberger that's in the house, but they ended up getting one from father, which was good enough for the arrest warrant.
As a SWAT team leader, though, explain a little bit what you need to A, get a SWAT team, and B, to hit at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Well, no knock is a whole separate part. I mean, if you're going to get a warrant to go arrest somebody, you can get an arrest warrant, you can get a search warrant for their place, but that does not authorize you no knock.
Usually it's 10 to 6 in the morning's off limit.
But yeah, you're right. If you want to go at 3 o'clock in the morning, you have to go to a judge and you have to explain why you think that's necessary. And that explanation would be an officer safety, a type of an explanation. Hey, we think that this guy, you know, may be capable of who knows what. Maybe he's got weapons in the house.
They could have found something that said, I'm not going down alone if they come after me. I mean, we've seen that how many times?
Yeah, this is a guy that might want suicide by cop. He might want to fight back. I mean, anyone that's capable of murdering 4 people, we're going to take that guy seriously.
It kind of goes back to, I mean, we're motive,
that's it.
opportunity,
I can't think of the name
and
of it.
selection.
There's one where he's like, he's not mobile. It's like, I forget what it's called, but like he wouldn't be mobile enough to commit these crimes. And I'm like, wait a minute, you run a 6-minute mile, buddy. Like, I mean, a Strava app. He shouldn't have downloaded the Strava app and did the one run.
And come together. The big question will be, where did he intersect? How did these victims come into his orbit? You know, was it at some restaurant? Was it at some party? Was it just on social media? Was he monitoring that? I think that will all come together as they're doing the analysis now, both on his phone, on his computer, and pulling out any other electronic information about what he was doing.
So it's common knowledge that the people that go to school in Pullman, they all come to Moscow. It's a cooler vibe and it's apparently less expensive, I've been told. The other thing to consider is that Kohberger was a rabid vegan. Moscow happened to be a place that had several restaurants that were vegan friendly, including the Mad Greek. Maddie and Xana both worked at the Mad.
Name another one.
Yeah, but Kaylee used to go there to visit them.
She said there's a bunch of restaurants, but I've only heard of that one, the Mad Greek.
So that's a very easy scenario for me to imagine him coming in contact with them. And he also was a very heavy-set kid who then lost weight. And, you know, he probably thought chicks were really going to dig him when he loses weight, and they didn't. And that caused him a lot of consternation.
You guys remember?
Do you think we're going to find out that like the Mad Greek had his name written down behind the bar, kind of like that other bar did? Like creepy guy when he comes in, you know, like gets a couple drinks in him and then he becomes creepy. They had like a note in the back that said something up like along those lines. Now I wonder if, you know, maybe he did go to the Mad Greek. I mean, if it's one of the only places around that has, you know, vegan food.
Remember the Venn diagram?
But if it's true, if this rumor is true about the ant and the pots and pans, where he wouldn't eat anything that was like made from those pots and pans because they had once had meat in them at one time, even though they were cleaned and everything. I don't think he would be going out to restaurants and eating food off of a grill. Hell no. Off of a restaurant grill that serves food, all kinds of food off of it. I don't see that happening. I would see him making his meals at home.
Diagrams from when you're in high school, right? You draw a circle and you put a bunch of people in the circle. Then you draw another circle and you want to see where those circles intersect. When you take a tower dump, right? You put a bunch of people in the circle and you say, hey, these are all folks that were within the area. Now we're going to take another circle, like who owns a white Hyundai Elantra? Okay, and let's see, is there any overlap in those two circles? Is there a person that not only owned a vehicle that looked like the suspect vehicle, but was also in the tower?
So you get more intersection.
Correct, you get more intersection. Now here, I think that's what they probably tried. Okay. And in the 3 to 5 tower dump that's referenced in the affidavit, his phone did not ping, right? We know he turned his phone off.
Which is convenient for a defense. You can't put my client at the scene at the time of the murder.
Correct.
But we can show you MOs of suspects that actually turn off their phone because they're conscious of technology. But, you know, when you look at Kohberger with all his education, and this is kind of flippant to say, but if you have enough money, you're going to get a degree. All you have to do is keep plugging along. So it doesn't mean he's a genius because he's going to get a doctorate in criminology.
Did he enter this program because he had the intent of becoming a murderer, or as a result of?
Actually, you know, I don't think Kohberger is all that smart. He did his DeSales classes online, right? So that's like, you can cheat. if you're doing your classes online, they give you your classes for the week normally on like Monday, and you have to like the following Sunday to get them in. My classes were like that, and I did criminal justice, got my bachelor's, and what I would do is wait till Sunday at 5 o'clock, and then all my papers were due by midnight, and I would be like typing away feverishly because I procrastinate. That's my bad trait about me. Is I'm the biggest procrastinator, unless it's like getting myself ready for like the next day and stuff like that. I do all that, but I just procrastinate some stuff.
Him kind of being drawn to it, gets kind of enthused and excited, and also gets focused on it. Now says, I can be a better criminal than the other ones.
I think he was drawn to the program because he was planning on this being part of his life work, and he was going to get away with it and get off on it, quite frankly.
He made
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Do you think he knew all the way in high school when he was trying to be a cadet or whatever it was that he was going to be doing this with his life? I don't think he knew back then.
You could make. He was connected to the vehicle. He left his DNA. He left his murder weapon sheath. A witness saw him. He didn't eliminate the witness. He got in over his head. He killed more victims than he thought. And he stalked them, and it was printed all over his cell phone. And that's just what we know.
The investigation is still going on. So, until they have closing arguments, until the trial is over, more information could be discovered.
Did he buy that knife? Absolutely, yes. Where did he buy it? I don't know how young people buy everything, but I don't see a lot of them walking around with cash.
Hopefully he bought it on Facebook Marketplace, which will make him look even more stupid than he already looks.
We got him on
Bryan
Amazon.
Kohberger made the long journey from Pennsylvania to Idaho
Facebook Marketplace.
early this morning. TMZ obtained photos of
Might have been better
Kohberger
for
being
him.
led in and out of Flight Star
There he is.
Wednesday, a fixed base operator at Willard Airport in Champaign, Illinois, where he and a handful of armed officers landed at around 11 a.m. while he was being transported across the country. The warden's office at the Monroe County Correctional Facility said that he was released sometime in the early morning hours and was placed into the custody of the Pennsylvania State Police for transport. Kohberger signed the paperwork waiving his right to extradition and also made his first court appearance in Pennsylvania Tuesday.
The final piece of the puzzle came December 27th, when police recovered DNA from Kohberger's father on trash at his parents' home in the Poconos and connected it to Kohberger through DNA found at the murder scene.
They're going to try to find a sample of their suspect, and they're going to compare it back to the crime scene sample. So presumably, when they went to Bryan Kohberger's parents' home in Pennsylvania and they pulled trash, what they were looking for was Bryan Kohberger's DNA. And what they found was a single source male profile that was the paternal profile of the suspect's DNA.
Yeah. To make it simple, how much of a match is a father to a son?
It's 50%.
50%. The Y chromosome gets passed down. That's where our surname keeps getting passed down in the genetic family trees, right?
Correct. There's 20 different locations on the genome that they test. And they looked at that in this case and said, hey, you know what? It doesn't match Kohberger 1-to-1, but it matches as a paternal match. So, and that would make sense because this was the father. Now, I'll tell you, typically what we want to see in those cases is we want to see a 1-to-1 match.
Yeah, direct match.
But once again, this is totality of the circumstance. We're not just arresting him based on the DNA alone. There's 17 other pages of really good information in here.
And there's probably another 117 pages of work that was actually done.
It's a happy ending so far. We've got a prosecution coming up, and I think it's going to be really painful.
For the families.
For the family, for the whole city of Moscow.
Can someone explain to me why they only put Kohberger in bulletproof vest one time? Is it, well, I guess at the, yeah, they only did it the one time. I mean, I'm technically, I guess, at the Latah County Jail, he was, just taken from the jail upstairs to the courthouse. I mean, you don't have to really go around people to do that. But he's in a new courthouse now, and I don't know how Ada County is. I don't know where they're bringing him in from. Maybe they're bringing him in from a side door, and they don't need to do that. But just curious. Want to make sure he's safe.
For the University of Idaho, and a lot of people
Get a
don't
fair
understand
trial.
this. He can want to plea. I think they're going to go for the death penalty.
Yeah, they're not going to let him get away with a plea.
Idaho, I don't think would stand for it.
No.
So, and I don't think the families will.
And right now, there's only one name. There's only one name that's in the center of all that. And that's Bryan Kohberger.
I think this is going to be a pretty famous case because of the victims and the innocence and the small community and the kind of suspect we have.
But I'm just so incredibly proud of the work that all these agencies did together.
That was nice for her to say. Okay, I got another video for you. Creating school safety. Oh gosh. Mark Furman's on another one. Creating school safety. Okay. Thank you guys all for being here tonight. I appreciate it. So basically, if you guys are new to the channel, I'm Tanya or TitaniumBuilt. Nice to meet you. You can call me either or. But we basically have been getting caught up with going back kind of and reviewing things that we have watched previously, like, years ago, regarding the Idaho 4 case and the case against Bryan Kohberger. So if you're new to the case, it's a good time to come in and join the conversation, because we are starting kind of from the beginning. We did search warrants over the last couple of days. We did the second PCA that came out. We went over all 31 pages of that last night on the live. And then I think we have the first PCA down, but we're going over, the updates that we've gotten and documents, anything like that, stuff like that. We do that over here. So if that's something that you're into, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hey, Samantha. No, they can prove that his car was near the house. It was seen on the 1112 cam. And they didn't say that. They said lack of blood or lack of DNA, but they do have blood evidence at his house and hair evidence. I don't know if that hair is going to match Murphy or if that blood evidence is going to be anything other than just Kohberger, having a bloody nose at night or something on an uncased pillow. But for him being like a clean freak, he had no casings on his pillow. Do you think he was just washing them? I don't know. Just freaks me out. Freaks me out. So this is the second part of this kind of like this series. This one is going to be just about the DNA. We kind of went over it earlier, but then I switched the video on us. So it's 24 minutes long, but we'll stop it and commentate here and there. No, GG of 10. I did not know that. Wow. Israel Keys. I don't picture him as a college guy. You know what I mean? I mean, I guess he could be a college guy. That's scary. What was ordered? We don't know what time she ordered it. We just know what time it got there. And they said it got there around 4 a.m. So she would have ordered it. I mean, they said she was known to order late night, late night, like DoorDash. And I'm the same way. Good thing I just don't do that anymore because it could get you broke really quick. But I think that she probably would have had to have ordered it around 3:30, I would say. 3:30. Yeah, because it had to come over from Washington, I think. It was like on the Washington side. But let me know. I might be wrong about that part, but I think it was. Hey, Sunshine. I kind of thought that too, like in a way, like could he have? But then they said they had talked to the person and everything, so. Yeah, everybody was home by 2 a.m. Yeah, it says it in the PCA. I think it's on like the front. I think it's on the first page. It's on like the first or second page of the PCA though. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to start this one and we'll talk in between here. Oh.
It was the crime that rocked the nation.
Police say 4 University of Idaho students were likely targeted and then killed with a knife or other edged weapon in what they describe as a horrific crime scene.
The killer who viciously murdered 4 college students in Idaho is still on the loose.
4 college students murdered in their beds.
It's just like a nightmare that you just never, ever wake up from. There's not a second throughout the day that I don't think about Kaylee and what happened to her. It's sickening.
Investigators are still desperately searching for a motive and a suspect.
Then suddenly, a break in the case.
The DNA taken in a cheek swab from suspect Bryan Kohberger is a, quote, statistical match to the knife sheath that was found at the crime, according to new court documents.
He thought he was organized, but he was completely disorganized.
DNA and the tool called investigative genetic genealogy played a key role in pointing them toward Kohberger.
I think on most cases that we've seen, probably over 80, 90% of them are solvable through genetic genealogy.
It circumvents hours, days, weeks of police work to hone in on a potential suspect early on.
Nobody knows the serial killers and rapists and their family.
Statistically, you only need to have a very small sample of the overall population to have a more probable than not chance of finding somebody. The killers are generally not in the database, so we find their cousins.
The Kohberger case is a perfect example. It gives you that confirmation that that is indeed the person whose DNA was at the crime scene.
Human beings are 99.9% identical in their genetic makeup. That means only a paltry 0.1% of our DNA is responsible for the traits that make us unique. It's these small differences that shape our identity and allow us to leave our mark on the world, literally. We transfer DNA with every touch, every shedding hair, every drop of blood. It serves as a roadmap of who we are, where we've been, and who we are connected to. Historically, when DNA is found at a crime scene, it's analyzed and compared to offender profiles in federal databases to help identify the perpetrator. But what happens when there's no match? That's where genetic genealogy comes in. In this special, we'll break down the ins and outs of this groundbreaking technique and how it led authorities to the alleged killer responsible for the deaths of 4 University of Idaho students, Kaylee Gonsalves, Maddie Mogan, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kernodle. We're here today to talk about genetic genealogy, specifically the Bryan Kohberger case, but then again, it applies to all cases. My guests, Steve Kramer and Steve Bush, have created genetic genealogy software that's going to revolutionize law enforcement.
I've often commented, Mark, that genetic genealogy is one of the most objective investigative techniques out there. And oftentimes detectives would come to us and say, hey, let me tell you about my case. And it's like, look, I don't really need to even know about the case. I just need the DNA. Let us do the genetic genealogy on the DNA, and we'll tell you who we think that DNA belongs to.
Now, because it's so sensitive, you can get just a few skin cells and create a profile. And once you have that profile, you can start building a family tree. Let's take it from there.
So law enforcement will start with what's traditionally.
It's literally the super sleuthing there is out there. Like, I mean, really, anybody could do it if they had the first name. Like, you know, whatever the DNA comes back as, that's the first name that you have, and then you build off your family tree off of that. I wouldn't be good at that job because I'm not good at knowing, you know, grandparents and, you know, 20 years or like 20, you know, generations back. I wouldn't be good at that. I would get mixed up. I'd be like, where am I at? But there are people out there that are genius level that are very good with genetics and genealogy and all of that.
Known as an STR profile. This is the common profile that occupies the FBI's CODIS database, the Combined DNA Index System. If the suspect is a known offender, they're going to take that STR, they're going to compare it to CODIS, and they'll immediately get the name of the suspect. Now, where genetic genealogy starts is as soon as that CODIS profile comes back and says, we don't have a hit. As law enforcement, we can now get a separate profile. We like to call it a genealogy profile. This is the same profile that you put into Ancestry.com or 23andMe. And these profiles, once you upload them to a database like GEDmatch or Family Tree DNA, those databases aren't going to give you back your suspect's name. but they're going to give you back people that your suspect is related to.
So you get a removed cousin from 6 generations ago. Their DNA has a little bit of DNA that is also connected to the suspect in some remote fashion, and that's where you start. So it can go up or down, right? And you could go back 1700.
You're hitting on the key point. You build family trees up, but then you have to build down. And probably the most common question that we get from people is like, well, I'm not in any DNA database, you'll never find me. And that's incorrect, because you have a second or third or a fourth or a fifth cousin, probably that you do not know, that did put their DNA into one of these databases.
Oh, shit.
So you'll have hundreds, if not thousands of cousins related to you in these databases already. And that's what makes it so powerful.
Just how accurate are the family?
If you got the last name, no, I'm just kidding. Like, don't be putting your nothing in your this database. Just kidding. I don't care if my stuff's in there.
Connections. And how do police use the information to pinpoint a suspect?
Take the Idaho case, Bryan Kohberger. DNA was found at the crime scene that apparently matches him.
On the worst piece of evidence.
Right, on the worst piece of evidence, but on one tiny spot on the button on the knife sheath. And no other evidence, no video of him, no admissions that we know of.
I think they were pretty crafty to be able to get DNA off that sheath button. It probably wasn't blood, or if it was covered with the victim's blood, not Kohberger's.
Amazing police work, right? We call it touch DNA. It doesn't last a long time, and it degrades easily. It can be washed away easily, and usually there's very little in terms of quantity.
When you see a department that gets that contact DNA, do you also see that they probably were very attention-oriented throughout the investigation? Would you agree that there's got to be more at the crime scene on the Kohberger case than just that little piece of contact DNA?
I think every crime's different, and it depends what type of preparation he did. We've had cases where people have planned the homicides and they've shaved all the hair off their body, they've washed themselves, they've washed their weapons, yet we still can find DNA at those crime scenes.
Although DNA can be found seemingly anywhere, it's important to remember that the leads generated by genetic genealogy are just one part of the puzzle.
Genetic genealogy is an investigative lead. It points you to a potential suspect. When you get the STR from that potential suspect and the STR from the suspect matches the STR from the crime scene, that's what's relevant. That's what's probable cause in order for that person to be considered a suspect. The genealogy that got you there is not.
Genetic genealogy has a great effect on the use of police resources, which are very scarce. So genealogy has the advantage of providing these investigative leads. Let's go back to the Kohberger case. Apparently, the police thought somebody driving a white Hyundai Elantra was a suspect vehicle, given the proximity to the crime scene. All those people are suspects, and there's thousands of them. Thousands of people in that 2-state area drove a white Hyundai Elantra, and the police have to look at all of them. What's the advantage of genetic genealogy? It says, hey, we found somebody that likely drove a white Elantra, and they live near the crime scene. Now, as an investigator, that's your big lead, and that's the way it works. And you confirm that lead by taking the DNA from that person, getting the STR and CODIS, and comparing it to the crime scene DNA.
In the affidavit of arrest, they went through the process of their investigation and how they went from crime scene to Bryan Kohberger. They never once used the word genetic genealogy, but they definitely used it because Kohberger wasn't in the database, and that was already known fairly early.
They had reason to believe that Bryan Kohberger was the suspect in the case. And they figured out where he was. He had left the state of Washington and went to Pennsylvania. They surveilled him in Pennsylvania, and they pulled trash from the residence that he was at, which was apparently
well, that's a recycling bin. So
that trash, they got DNA off of. And when they got an STR and compared it with the STR from the crime scene,
it was the father's.
It was the father's, and the chance that
look at that. This is the best face you could have right there. Look at how mad Kohberger looks. He is like, don't fudge this up, Dad. So did he tell him something on that trip? Do you think he told him? Do you think he talked to his dad about stuff like that? I almost feel like they had that relationship where he could tell his dad that he messed up big time. Maybe not tell him exactly what he did. I don't think he told him maybe exactly what he did, but maybe he did tell him he messed up. Like he messed up at school. He's going to maybe be fired for being the TA. I think his dad knew something, because that you don't give your dad that look for no reason. That is, don't you dare say a word, Dad, or you're next. Like that's an evil look. I mean, unless we just got him on a bad look, but he looks so mad. And then you got his dad here charging the phone, trying to get the maps up there to get him home.
DNA could be anyone else other than the killer's father, who had these incredible odds. And that's what they used in the affidavit. So they didn't have Bryan's, but they knew we had the father of the killer. And so they used that as their probable cause to arrest Bryan Kohberger. And then subsequently, after he was arrested, they took his DNA and got an STR, and it matched the crime scene.
Top-notch detective work. But is it legal? Can police collect the suspect's DNA without their consent? So once he takes the trash out and he puts it in a trash can, he's given up rights under the Fourth Amendment to that property because he's discarding it. Am I correct?
That's correct.
So this is how they got the Golden State Killer, too.
Officials in California announcing today they arrested the man they believe is the Golden State Killer. For more than 4 decades, the identity of the person who murdered 12 people and raped dozens more in the 70s and 80s has been a mystery.
Steve, you actually were
Solved it with genealogy technology.
knee deep
IgG.
in that case. You turned probably how many years of investigation and man hours into 63 days?
Yeah, 43 years.
43 years.
43 years.
And well over 200,000 man hours in investigation efforts.
But ultimately,
It's worth the money. If you think about the man hours you're saving.
it was genetic genealogy that cracked the case.
Steve Kramer had a harebrained idea. He said, hey, this guy has left his DNA all up and down the state of California. Why don't we use his DNA to try to figure out who he is? And he said, maybe we can do it just like, the folks at Ancestry.com do it with one of these genealogy profiles. And so he came up with the idea to try that at the FBI. A lot of people thought he was nuts for trying it, but we all know now that it did work and they were able to identify the Golden State Killer.
It is fitting that today is National DNA Day. We found the needle in the haystack, and it was right here in Sacramento.
Now that seemed like a huge win for the case, which it was.
Right.
But the bigger win was, wow, we have this process now that we can use on all these other cases. 5 cases became 10 cases, became 20 cases, became 50 cases. And what we learned was,
Before they started doing all that, though, they should have incorporated all of this into the new law, into the laws, because the law wasn't ready for IgG. It wasn't built for IgG. So now we're having to have, people like Bryan Kohberger is on trial, and people are saying, well, he's not getting a fair trial. And because they don't understand IgG, and they don't understand genealogy and how it works. And it's hard to explain it to some people. They either want to know, is it his or is it not his DNA?
without software, this is not going to be a scalable process. The process takes way too long, and it's just never going to really change the game. If you go to CODIS and you say, well, how many unidentified DNA profiles are in CODIS right now of people who have committed murder, who have committed rape? It's over 1 million people. We don't know who they are. And that number continues to go up year over year. The paltry, a couple hundred solves that genetic genealogy has to date is not moving the needle. Software is necessary in order to change the game.
How do you come up with software that basically looks at a pyramid and keys in on certain DNA and starts making matches?
Genetic genealogy is based on inferring relationships between people from records. You could pull up the 1850 census and you could see, Steve Jones and Jennifer Jones live at the same address at the same time, and they have a person who's 25 years younger than them named John Jones. And we would infer that John Jones is probably the son of the mom and the dad that live there. Now, we may be right, we may be wrong, we don't know. We're just making an assumption. But if you make those assumptions over and over and over and over again, you can start to see whether your assumptions are correct or not. This is how what we jokingly call long division genealogy works.
Okay, so if you go down the wrong path, that was a neighbor that was living with him because his parents were killed in an auto accident, you're only going to get to a dead end. You're not going to arrest or focus on a person that didn't have the possibility of committing the crime.
Let's say you built the completely wrong family tree and you went down the wrong path, as you said, and you got to a suspect that looked good. When you pull that suspect's DNA and compare it to the crime scene DNA, it's not going to match, right? It's going to come back and say, that's not the guy. That's not the guy who touched the knife sheath, right? That's not the guy who left his, evidence inside of the rape victim.
We're not going to arrest the wrong person because we still take their DNA compared to the crime scene. If it matches, then you have your guy. In fact, the DOJ guidelines and the FBI teaches it this way, is that you are not to use genealogy solely for probable cause. So nobody should be arrested based on genealogy. So when people worry about the police arresting the wrong person, it's not going to happen because of genealogy. Genealogy simply tells you whose DNA was at the crime scene.
But it's not always a straightforward process. Finding a match takes time and resources, something many police departments don't have enough of these days.
I like to break the genetic genealogy process up into two parts. The first part is going from the DNA at the crime scene to the profile. This is where they take an actual raw sample of something, saliva or blood, they put it into a machine, and that machine produces a SNP profile.
To see the machines in action, I headed to San Diego to visit Verigen Labs. It's here they build the genetic genealogy technology used by public forensic labs and law enforcement to analyze DNA and catch criminals. So in the Kohberger case, they have contact, that's trace, I suspect, on a knife sheath that was left at the scene. They processed that DNA. It came up with a profile that did not get a hit encoded. So then they used genetic genealogy to find a relative. And they found a relative one generation away, his father. Then they go to Pennsylvania and they wait until he takes out the trash and they get that DNA, they process it, they put the two pieces together, they get an arrest warrant. Is that basically what we're talking about, case after case after case in genetic genealogy?
That is what we're talking about with every case now. One of the things that Verigen does is we are also stewards of the GEDmatch database. So today, when public labs have a casework sample coming in from a putative suspect, they do STR typing. So they're looking at 25 discrete locations on the genome, and they're looking at it in a very analog way. They're looking at the length, not actually reading the DNA. What we do is build equipment that allows you to digitally read the DNA. So effectively, we are digitizing forensic evidence.
Let's say law enforcement has a sample. How small can that be where you can still get a profile?
So historically, you needed a lot more DNA, but technology has come a very long way in the last 20 years. At this point in time, you could generate a DNA profile from as little as 5 cells.
So how many cells would you need to be able to visibly see it on the head of a pin?
300 cells.
So 300 cells on the head of a pin, and you can work with 5.
We can work with 5.
That puts it into perspective.
Exactly.
5, wow.
If DNA is found at a crime scene, it's collected and sent to a forensic lab where it's loaded into this machine. This is it?
This is the box.
That's it?
That is it.
So Swathi, this right here has the slide of the DNA material that you have placed on this slide.
Correct.
So now show me what you do to make this machine start working.
Be careful,
to process
Phantom.
the DNA.
Gladly, Mark.
be careful. Make sure that you're not opening the door when they're like delivering the food. You know what I mean? I just want to stop this because the other day this happened to me, and I ordered DoorDash. Actually, Vincent ordered it for me, and we have a Ring doorbell camera. I'm just going to say this really quick because this is like a PSA for everybody out there. But I live in a building, so you have to come in a door. Like I buzz you in, and then you come upstairs, and then there's my front door. Well, he was like knocking on my door. I've never had a DoorDash guy do that. They always leave my food at the door and take a picture every time, 100% of the time. Well, I told Vincent about it that night. I said, it was really weird. I said, the DoorDash guy like knocked on the door. I said, I waited until I heard the bottom door slam shut before I grabbed my food, because even if he was still inside, he would have had to run up the stairs, run down the hallway. I mean, I would have got in before he got me. Do you know what I mean? So I always do that as a precaution. Like I always wait to hear or like see them leave, you know, because I can't really see them leave the way my like apartment is located, but I can hear that bottom door like shut. So just be careful, you know, when you're ordering food, because this is the thing. My food was supposed to be delivered by a woman named Mary. That was not a woman. That was a man. And Vincent said, like, he was a small guy, like skinny guy, like because he could see him through the Ring camera. And I'm like, what? Yeah, I always have people just leave it at the door. So I said that when he was knocking. I was like, just leave it at the door. Like, and I got a kid's meal from Chick-fil-A. So that right there, I mean, it's not like I got a big meal. And so a kid's meal would be like either for a woman or a kid, like, right? Like you would think that, or you would think that the woman was there with the kid. I don't know. I was just telling y'all, be careful. Be careful out there. It's a crazy world. You were doing a smelling pot the other day.
What forensic lab scientists tend to do is they prepare the DNA so it can be read by the machine. First, we want to hit sequence. What that means is it's telling the machine we want to digitally look at every single location that we're typing. What my instrument is telling me to do is to put that microscope slide into the reader. So I do that, clamp it down, close the door. We put all of the other chemistries that are required to run this sequencer, and you hit next.
Okay.
And the machine does what it needs to do. 28 hours later, the sequence data is ready to be analyzed.
28 hours later, wow.
A machine like this costs about $140,000 to $150,000. It definitely reduces the overall investments that we have to make as taxpayers on public safety. Because not only does it help us solve faster, it also helps us exonerate those who have been wrongly accused of crime. So truly what it does is use the power of DNA as a tool for justice.
We were talking about the homicide solution rate, and it's at about 55% nationwide, which isn't very impressive. Do you believe that if law enforcement had 50 of these machines in major cities in the United States, how would that change and how fast?
That is one of the reasons we are so passionate about democratizing access to all the 260 public labs in the country. If you think about the number of profiles today that don't deliver a hit or a match every year, we're looking at 90,000 profiles. A vast majority of those could be candidates for genetic genealogy. And given the number of profiles that are in GEDmatch and FTDNA, there have been multiple studies that have shown that having 1% of a representative population in these databases could lead to 90 to 95% identification rates.
It's going to change everything, isn't it?
We believe it is.
Genetic genealogy may be the crime-solving tool of the future, but still, challenges remain.
Labs are starting to produce these SNP profiles faster than they've been produced in the past. What's bogging departments down is the ability to go from a profile to a known identity, because that's what we really need.
And it takes a long time to build family trees. It's tedious. We run into dead ends. And cops don't want to be sitting in front of their computer. They want to be out in the field knocking on doors. They want the easy solution. And that's what Indago is. Push the button, here's your suspect.
I can imagine if I met you somewhere and I was still working, I would have a list of cases going back to 1957, and I'm going to be lining them up.
Mark, what you just said is exactly what we teach at these conferences. Is we say, look, go back to your department on Monday and say, I want a list on my desk tomorrow of all of the cases that we have that have adequate DNA. Pretty much any amount of suspect DNA is adequate now with the technology to get that SNP profile. We're getting down to the just a couple of cell level to be able to get these DNA profiles.
Really, there's no crime scene where you can't get some evidence from the suspect, whether it's a piece of sweat or saliva or a hair.
There's science that says we can get DNA from your breath. One of the things that we use a lot is rootless hairs. We've solved cases where we have just a small pubic hair that was found on a victim, and we're able to get a full profile and identify the person. So the technology is only getting better and better at it.
It's hard to fathom to take something smaller than the head of a pin, and you could get genetic code from that that's 3.2 billion base pairs long. That's 6.4 billion letters. That's 2,000 King James Bibles stacked up next to each other of letters, unique to you and only you, and differentiating you from any other human who ever has walked on this planet and ever will walk on this planet.
Kohberger, you're special.
But to ultimately put convicts behind bars, law enforcement needs the public's help.
Well, when you think about it, Mark, it's no different than the interviews that you did when you were a police detective. You knocked on people's doors and you said, hey, you have a piece of evidence that's relevant to my case, and I'd like to ask you about it. It might be your eyewitness testimony. It might be your Ring doorbell footage. It might be a piece of trash that was left in your front yard. In this case, it's your DNA.
It's important to be honest and tell the public what we're doing. And I think that's kind of the give and take with forensic genetic genealogy. If the cops abuse it, don't use it the right way, then people will not cooperate.
Believe me, they are very, very willing to cooperate with you when you lay those facts out for them and say, this is how I worked to get to your front door. Believe me, if I could solve this case without knocking on your door, I would have already solved it. But we're here because we need your help.
Still, the question remains, should citizens be concerned about police having their DNA?
No.
There's a big concern about privacy, and people, consider their DNA more private than anything, in some ways more private than their Facebook accounts, which, frankly, show more of their family, members and intimate details of their life than, the DNA ever could. The government needs to ensure and be transparent with the public that, hey, we need this technique and we need to balance the privacy interest.
It would be nice to have a giant give away your DNA barbecue and people just line up, get a free hot dog and a beer and give me your DNA. It's a joke, but sometimes you can trap something like that. I think
we might be going in that
if they understood, it would be really supportive.
Besides putting people in jail, the survivors, the victims of these crimes, particularly when they've gone years, decades, knowing that that person that's done this terrible thing to them is still out there, it's amazing that genetic genealogy can bring closure to that.
Okay. I was just putting in the chat. I was like, everything. If you check out my Idaho playlist, I have an Idaho playlist, and then I have the case against Bryan Kohberger, and I think they're both pretty much the same. But I have every single documentary, podcast, video, news clipping, document, book, almost every book. I only have one book on there. But I do have all of the airmails, all 5 or 6 or 7 of those. But if you need any Idaho content, I've got you. I've got you. And I got both the PCAs right here. I was looking over them earlier. I was looking over those. So I like to look through them when they say something just to double check. I always double check, even if it's them like on, like I'm weird, y'all. Like I double check Nancy Grace. I will double check everybody. And I will always correct whatever I see that, like if, Nancy says something and I'm like, that's not right. And then I'll show you where I got, where I got my answer from. But yeah, I'm glad you liked it. Southern, you're really starting to learn this case, girl. You know that you're knowing this case. I wonder how many people came in like after Idaho. Like, Did any of you guys has anybody came into the case like after Idaho 4, or has everyone been here since pretty much like Idaho? Okay. Thanks, DM. You're a prudent student. You did a good job. Like cold cases can be any case. It could be a missing person case. It could be, I mean, any case can go cold. It just means that they're no longer like working on it like full time. Usually that's what it means when it's cold. You've been here since Idaho? Yeah, you have, Chloe. You've been here since Colorado. Me too, PJ, second chance. Me too. I came in during Kylie Rodney. I had something to say about that case. I had a lot to say. Now that I'm been a creator for longer, I would take back some of the things, you know what I mean? Like that I said during that case. Not like the things that I said about Kylie, because I said wonderful things about her, but I was kind of hard on her mom a little bit, like in one of my videos. And like, just, I don't know, looking back on it, I don't know. I still stand by my video because I don't think you should allow your teenage daughter out that late to be partying and stuff like that. But I guess I didn't have to like put the video out there. You know what I mean? I could have kept those thoughts to myself maybe and not like put those out there for her to see, because that video did really well. It's like one of my best videos and she probably did see it, I'm sure. I mean, if she's like any of the other parents that have been on this app, you know what I mean? Like they don't want to watch, but they do. And so, I mean, I wasn't like mean or I wasn't cussing out or anything, but I just remember like, just saying like, you know, why would you let her out this late? And like stuff like that. So I gave her a hard time. Oh, I don't know. They said that they need to switch up their systems and be more, you know, prepared. Oh, really? Another case recently solved in Idaho? We've been waiting so long. We've been patient. I think we have. And just think, it's like it's summertime right now. Like, well, it's going to be summer. We're in spring, even though it's raining here. Cats and dogs. It's been raining. It'll rain tomorrow. It'll rain Monday, I think. Oh, thanks, Otto. You're so nice. But it's going to be summer, and I say we all hang outside. You know what I mean? Like get some sun. If you all come in here looking pasty after summer, I'm gonna bring each one of you up on the panel. All of you are going to come up on panel, and I'm going to check out your tan level, and I'm going to say, okay, we're all here now. We're all here because I'm pale. I need to do like a self tan or something. But I'm excited about the trial. I'm excited to learn new things. We're gonna learn a lot before the trial too. I mean, we're already learning so much. We know about the 911 call now. We know what the girls were doing in the middle of the night. Those were two huge things that we wanted answers to. You know, we wanted to know about those things, and we actually do know about them now. Is it Verena? She said, oh, let me see. Yeah, he was going to go after Maddie, in my opinion. I don't believe he was intended to kill, just do things against her approval. And of course, he brought the knife as a scare tactic. However, things went left. Yeah, that could have happened. I definitely think that he was there for Maddie. I use that Tanology. Is that what's called, Tanology? It goes on clear though. So it kind of, you don't know how much you're putting on. I got it on my hands and I was like, oh, this ain't good. What's going on, PJ? Oh no, PJ. Just throw a hat on there and then get tan everywhere else. Do you wear wigs? And if you do, let me know where you get them from. I would love to know. Vincent was asking me. He's like, are wigs better than extensions? And I'm like, maybe. I mean, because like I can get more of them, like, you know. So I'm like, maybe they would be. Let me see. it's going to be really fun. When, like, not fun, but it's going to be exciting when the trial starts, because we'll be doing the trial, but the trial is, what is it? 3 hours difference out there. I think it's switched to 2. It might have switched to 2 hour difference now, but, or no, I think it's still 3. You guys will let me know in the chat. I can't remember if it's 2 or 3 now, because they switched to Ada County. So I think the time changed to 2. 2 hours. So if they start at like 8, it would be like 10 here. So just, I mean, at least we'll be able to sleep in a little bit over on this side if you're on the East Coast. Oh, I don't know either, PKC. That sounds interesting, though. I'm so sorry, Norma. That Tanology is pretty good. I actually got I got it on sale too at Amazon. And I don't feel orange whenever I put it on. I don't think I do. I'll put some on tomorrow or the next day, and then I'll show you guys. Oh, Kathy had spots from a man. You sound like Kathy, that sounds like something my mom would say. I'm 65. I love the sun. My mom loved the sun. She's put baby oil on herself, but she had the softest skin. Like, her skin didn't age. Like, I mean, it did. I can't say she didn't like age, because I mean, she'd aged, but like, I don't know. Her face was so soft. I will never forget the softness of like hugging my mom and her cheek touching my cheek. That just my skin is, people think that I have like soft skin. No. Thanks, Norma. Just the makeup. Just the makeup. I actually use I don't have it beside me. I use it's like a shimmery makeup. Mine is called Tanology. That's what I use. And you can get it at like Ulta or Amazon. Thank you. Appreciate it. I put my makeup on and stuff for y'all. I didn't do anything much today. I think I just ran over to Target, grabbed some drinks for Vincent, and then I had a prescription I had to pick up. That's why I went over there too. Oh yeah, they all do kind of stink. Yeah. If you guys can go in the sun, use Maui Babe. Now that will get you dark within 30 minutes. Like, you only need it on for 30 minutes, jump in the pool, wash it off, and you'll be tan. Like, you will be so tan, you'll be like thanking me for years to come. But it doesn't have any SPF in it. So you make sure you're putting that on too. Because I put SPF on a lot. So I don't know if I'm really like getting that tan out there, because I'm putting so much SPF on, but I need it. I did the tanning bed when I was younger. Oh, I did it so much. I did it so much. I did it so dang much. My mom went to the tanning bed. And this was back when you had to sit in the tanning bed for 30 to 40 minutes. 30 or 40 minutes, and you only had a tape deck or a radio. If you were lucky, you got a tape deck. But that's how long ago it was. And my mom let me and my best friend Ashley use the tanning bed because she could sign for us, and Ashley was like her daughter too. And her mom said it was fine. We asked, of course, but we were young when we started tanning, like 15, 14, 15. It wasn't frowned upon back then. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, you're going to get, your skin's going to look crazy when you get older. It was just, no one told us. And then they did start telling us. And then I quit going about 7 years ago to the tanning bed, 6 years ago, something like that. I love tan. I used to love tanning, but I don't want to do it anymore. Oh, have a good night, Otto. Much love to you. Oh, we have a pool. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, in a garden. You love Maui Babe? I do too. I think that stuff's the bee's knees. I do love it though. I'm a tanner. I'm a tanner for life. I like to be dark in the summertime. I can't help it. I like to be by the pool. I usually will go down like every other day or every day for like at least like an hour or so. I am going to try to go down a lot longer this summer because just to get out, and get out of this place and go to the pool. And then I can even do lives from the pool. Because like during the day, no one's at the pool. Like most people, are at work. And it's just me. And then when the kids get out of school, then it's the kids and then it's loud, But I don't mind the kids. I don't mind them too much. It's usually the young adults that get me. So hopefully we're good. Norma, me too. I need to have some color. Trump uses a tanner. We thought, William, that he gave up on the suntan, like the self tanner. But then Vincent saw him a couple weeks ago and he's like, he's back to being self tanner, Trump. And I'm like, oh, maybe he just ran out during the election. Because did anyone else think that his skin color was going back to normal? He's already tan. Vincent's already getting dark. I'm like, how are you getting dark? Like, I don't know if it's his genes or what, but he's getting dark. If you ever get suntan lotion, like self tanner on your hands, use Windex. It helps me. I don't know. I did TikTok, I think, on it one time. And you just like wash your hands with Windex and it'll get the self tanner off of like the bottoms of your hands. Pee pool. They better not be peeing in the pool. No, I haven't. That probably would be funny though. Seeing Trump dancing on Soul Train. But I think I'm going to jump off here. I'm going to go see what Vincent and the whole crew's doing. Actually, I got the crew in here, some of them. I got one. She's back there looking so cute. Hey, Mia. Are you awake? Hi. You ready to go out there? You ready to get a cookie? She has her eyes open. She has her eyes open. She's ready. As soon as I get up, she'll be ready. She's just relaxing. She's like the most chill dog. Like you should see her lay on the bed. She lays on her back and has her paws, front paws and back paws spread out. The front ones are like straight up in the air. So she's the length of the bed. Like she's a huge dog. She's like 90 pounds. I don't think the Tanology stinks. I can't remember though. I don't think it stinks though. I think I would remember that. I just used it a few weeks ago. I'll let you know tomorrow. I'm going to post some on. Isn't she the cutest? She is very sweet. She's a very sweet girl. She's so sweet. But she bullies the other dog. That's supposed to be the badass. It's so funny. It's like, how do you bully one? I don't know. They're all crazy. Yeah, it's a big dog. She's a big girl. She has her leg hanging her. Yeah, she's about 80, 90 pounds. She has to be in my lap too when we go to the vet. So I have to sit like a guy does, like with my leg, like, at an angle, like, instead of like crossed over. So I can hold her big body because it's literally me and her. Like, she's just a mama's girl. She's definitely my girl. She follows me everywhere all the time, no matter what. But I don't mind it. One of these days I'm going to miss that, I'm going to like go to look behind me and she might not be there. So I don't take it for granted. When I was actually downstairs with the lady with the other dog, the dog problem, I was in her apartment and it was just like reminding me of my apartment. Cause the cabinets are the same and stuff. And like, I kept turning around and like looking behind me and I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm just expecting my dog to be there. She's not there. So it was just weird. Oh, Lab Mastiff. Oh, I bet that's a big baby too. I bet that's a cute dog. I have a boxer pit mix also. She's a brown dog, but she's not in here. Your son just adopted a new dog. She was the one at the SPCA, the long eyes. Oh, Norma, that warms my heart. My dog was 3 years old when we got her. So we got an old dog. She lived on the streets of Columbus her whole life. It's a big like city in Ohio. That's where we used to live and that's where we got her. And she was in the shy unit. That dog is not shy by any stretch of the imagination. See, she's my cuddle dog. I can lay on her, I can cuddle her, I can squeeze her. I can do anything to that dog. She'll just chill. She don't care. She doesn't mind. That's the best thing about dogs, you know? It's the best thing. And I have a cat too. I can't forget him. He's the best. Like, I have the coolest cat ever. He's like 17 or 18. His name's Rocky. And he is the man of the house, other than Vincent, you know, of course. But he's the only male animal I've ever had. And he's the only male animal I will ever have. So he's spoiled. He's probably sitting at the door right now, actually. So I'm going to jump off here and give all these dogs and cats some treats. And then I'm going to go and see who's live, I guess. That's what I usually do when I get off the live. I'm always like nosy, like, who's live? What are they talking about? But thank you guys for being here tonight. I do appreciate it. I'm going to put my sign back on here before I forget. But I'll be back on tomorrow evening, 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I think we might do Madalena Kojikari tomorrow. If not, we'll finish up with the Fox Nation for Idaho. But I do want to go over that Madalena Kojikari interview, or the Nancy Grace podcast that she did. She probably has it out on video. I'll check. Actually, let me check real quick, because I want to know. I might watch it tonight. I'm super excited about it. Like, I didn't think she would cover it. Like, I've been on her freaking Twitter, like, please cover this. I'm like, maybe she saw my message. Oh yeah, there it is. It came out April 4th. Oh. Yeah. So it says warrants now reveal the mattress and pictures of the little girl were burned in a fire pit before or after her disappearance. So yeah, there's new warrants out there and stuff. And they said they're 2 months ago, because I had someone send them to me from the Facebook group. And they said they're from 2 months ago. So I'm going to go back in our lives and see if I read them already, because I know we've covered this case in the last 2 months. I'm pretty sure. I would be weird if we didn't. I usually cover it like once a month, it seems like. So I'll check and everything, and then I'll let you guys know. But I'll put her picture up and everything, so that way you guys know who she is and who we're going to be talking about. But thanks for being here tonight. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for liking the video. Thanks for the super chats, all the things that you guys do, just being subscribers, being members, being my friends. I love you guys. I appreciate you. So I'll see you guys all tomorrow. Have a wonderful Sunday. If I don't, hopefully it's sunny and warm where you are tomorrow. Bye, guys.
Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire.